All right, hi sir. Could you please state your name?
William King,
And
former
could you state where you were born and when you were born?
February 24th, 1927. I was born in a little town upstate New York. It's about 20 miles outside of New York City. A 1 square mile town. 1 square mile all the way around.
And because even before World War II, we were going through a depression. I wanted to know, what was it like in the depression? Could you
The
describe it?
depression was quite a hard time for us. My father worked downtown in the financial district. He worked for a financial company, and day to day you didn't know whether you would still be working or not. He never complained, but this was what my mother told me. She was always worried that we would be out of work. But he lasted. He kept going. Anyway.
And then when did you join the service?
I didn't join. They came and got me.
They came and got you.
All right. And like I said inside, I was 14 when Pearl Harbor was attacked. That's when the war started. And I was too young for the service at that time. So for the next 4 years, my only intention was to get into the service because there was such patriotism here. We should have it now. We should have such patriotism. It would make the whole difference in the United States' position in the world. Right now, we're subject to so much criticism. There's so many things that are unnecessary that could be corrected. Could be corrected any time. They've got a big problem right now with immigration. Because people don't realize we're all immigrants. All of us came from someplace else, unless you're an American or Indian, right? And yet they don't want to deny those opportunities to the rest of the world. It's not right. It's not right.
Yeah.
It's not very generous. Anyway.
And then, which branch were you drafted to? When did you first go to boot camp?
I went to the Army. Yeah, I was put into the Army. But everything, such patriotism, like I said, was unbelievable. People did without gasoline. They did without meat. They did without just the basics. Unbelievable. And everybody worked. You talked about the Depression in the same breath. This probably cured the Depression. Everybody was in defense work. Man taken to put screws together, screw it enough, all day long, only towards victory. And was involved in what he wanted, victory. Everybody knew somebody in the service. Everybody knew some victim of the service. Everybody. No matter how big, how small the town was.
And then, what was boot camp like, and when did you first get into?
When I first went to Fort McClellan, like I mentioned inside, all we did was walk. If you wanted to walk, we were infantry trainings, and we were learning weapons, so that we could use any weapon, discarded weapon, by a wounded or a dead soldier. Right? No matter anything from a .45 automatic to a flamethrower, and this includes machine guns, mortars, bazookas, any of those weapons. If we were in a combat situation where they needed somebody, you were there. You could use it. All you do is pick it up and use it. And this was their intention. But fortunately, the bomb got dropped, and that was that. When I went in the Army, I was 18 years old. And I said I had 4 years, I had spent 4 years waiting to be put in the Army. I didn't even have a driver's license. You couldn't get gasoline. Where could you drive? You think my father was going to let me say go ahead, joyride on my 4 gallons a week? Forget it. It wasn't going to happen. Just wouldn't happen.
So, when you were in the Army, what were you doing? Like,
Well, after the surrender, I landed in Japan the same day as Operation Olympic was to take place, which was the invasion of Japan. I arrived there the same day, and I spent another year and a half in occupation duties, working on the Yokohama pier. I had experience with the railroad before, so they said, oh, he knows all about the railroad. 18 years old, I knew nothing. And set him down there, so I went to a freight office on the pier and sat there and did very little work because everything was being moved by truck. At that time, and during the war, black soldiers were only permitted really to drive trucks for the quartermaster car. This was all that the government considered they were useful for. Now, try and remember this. And in 1947, Harry Truman integrated the services. And it was probably one of the best things he ever did in his entire career. Because what he did to them was not right. I wound up being a dispatcher on the Yokohama pier. And got along fine. But there was an awful lot of tension because of it. Yokohama was 80% black. And there was a great deal of tension. Fortunately, I didn't have any of it. They all got along fine with me. I got along fine with them. We go to nightclubs, go to this, that, and the other thing, and they would always say, hey, Ken, come here, come on, sit down, have a beer with us. And I would do it. A lot of the Southern boys wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have anything to do with them. They wouldn't sit at the same table and eat with them.
yeah,
Think of that.
yeah, that's,
For what? For prejudice.
yeah.
Yeah. Just tell them, don't sit here, you can't sit here. Wasn't right. And there was an awful lot of tension because of it. A lot of tension. But anyway.
And when did you finally leave
In service,
occupied? Yeah,
44, 46.
46.
Yeah,
So you would have been in occupied Japan.
yeah. I was there for a
What,
year.
monitoring it and looking around and
Yeah, I had a good, it was quite an experience for an 18-year-old to go from New York to Japan.
Japan.
Whoa, what a change. Unbelievable.
and then in Japan, what was it like? Was there?
What was it like? They were accepted us. They accepted the defeat. And they were starving. They had been cut off from all outside providing. It's an only an island country, and they needed expansion to survive before the war. For their plans, they needed expansion, and they got it in China, and they got it in Manchuria, they got it in South Asia, Southern Asia, all those places. But they couldn't keep it up because they couldn't feed their army. They couldn't feed them. And the army has to be fed. Got it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's their fuel.
hey,
And then, do you find, was there any resistance or anything?
on top of that, the island was starving when we were there. We used to have regular mess halls. And back of the mess hall was where you cleaned your plate, your mess gear. At night, they used to line up there and receive our garbage. And they had their cans, and that's what they survived on, many of them. On top of that, the government then brought back 8 million Army soldiers and pushed them on the island.
So then, even less food.
Like there was room for them,
Yeah.
right? Just added to the problem.
Yeah.
Just added completely to the problem.
And then, did you notice, because you were there for only a little time in Japan,
Yeah.
but did you ever notice the gradual change of it getting better?
In 1947 or 1948, I forget which one it was, Japan sent some electronic engineers to the Bell Laboratories in Arlington and New Jersey. And RCA Victor gave them the working plans for radios, portable radios, and that was it. They took off.
Well, you want to move on to the reflection questions?
Go ahead.
All right, so, I want to ask, what advice do you have for my generation and for future generations to come?
What's what?
What advice do you have for my generation and future generations?
Be kind.
Kind.
Be kind.
That's good.
All right? Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for talking to me.